Howdy folks, and welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another tutorial episode of War in the East 2. This tutorial will cover two short topics that are not really related to one another, but they still belong to the, let's say, big chapter of the air war. And as you have seen from the title, the topics are pilots and air bases. Two words about pilots. Why are they important? Well, because it doesn't matter how many planes you produce and you assemble, you still need pilots to fly those machines. And both factions, the Axis and the Allies, and the Soviets, will train, let's say, a certain amount of pilots each turn. Now, pilots are grouped in the so-called national pool, and they are normally untrained, and they have a so-called skill level. We can actually have a look. We can take it exactly so. They have it's not labeled here. They have a skill level that is normally half the national morale of the nations. Briefly, I mentioned this before, but the national morale is indicates the willingness of your nation, of your population, of your soldiers to fight, and that's why the national morale. The national morale. This one here affects unit performance in battle. If you have a look at the air unit morale, we see that, for instance, for Germany until say late 1942 is at 75. So newly trained pilots will arrive with a national morale of 75. Divided by 2, approximately, let's say. And in the let's say national pool, pilots undergo training. They can undergo training when the air wings are deployed in the reserves for the Axis, and randomly even in the Western Europe theater box. Randomly air group AOGs will undergo training, and when a pilot undergoes training, it raises its skill to the level, of course, of the national morale, in this case 75. When pilots are assigned to an air group unit because other pilots have gone missing, have been killed, or let's say captured, the pilot will undergo the specialization. Specialization occurs only when the pilot is assigned to the air group unit, and means that the pilot will become, let's say, expert in flying, I don't know, fighters, bombers, recon, torpedo bombers, transport planes, and then so on and so forth. And when you have this, let's say, pool of trained, untrained, and specialized pilots, there is an option here in the, I think is at the level of the Luftflotten, air commands, and air armies, to prioritize the replacement of missing pilots with either, you can set it here, either with fully trained pilots, with pilots which are, let's say, not yet fully trained, and if, let's say, you run out of trained and in-training pilots, you can even send untrained pilots, here in this case set as normal. This is the asset priority, and we will see it more in details in the AI automated in the AI assisted handling of the air war. And restricted means that that specific AOG will not receive any pilot. So yeah, and yeah, basically that's it already about pilots. The time has come to talk about air bases. Now, air bases are actually one of the main difference between War in the East 1 and War in the East 2. While in War in the East 1, air bases were like mobile units that the player could have moved around the map at will. In War in the East 2, they're actually real existing infrastructures that the player has to build and or expand if he or she wishes to do so. We have seen in one of the very early tutorials that air bases can have 3, let's say, levels or sizes, and these levels are indicated by the amount of airstrips found in these circles. Level 1, level 2, and level 3 air bases. Different levels of air bases with different levels to have a different capacity, and the capacity of an airbase is expressed in engines. Level 1 has a capacity of 100 engines, level 2 200, and level 3 300. How do you let's say build a new airbase? Well, you can click on any hex. Let's say we can pick this one here, and you can right click on this hex and you click and you go on establish new airbase, and it gives you the coordinates. While if you want to expand an existing airbase from level 1 to level 2 and from level 2 to level 3, you can select the hex with the airbase, and you go to in this case the Poznan airbase, and you go here to expand airbase, and this will start the process of let's say expanding the airbase. Now I have to say a few things about this process, because maybe I wouldn't say that the noobs, but the newly arrived players may think, oh yeah, that is cool, I can just expand all of the airbases that I want, and no, it doesn't work like that. Airbase expansion takes an incredible amount of time, and therefore I kindly invite you folks to strategically think at which air bases you think that they need to be upgraded to level 2 and even to level 3. It takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of supplies. So expanding an airbase imposes a logistical toll, and we will talk about more this in details when I will talk about the logistics in general. And it takes time, and also it takes resources, because let's say if one of your air bases gets bombed during the expansion let's say period, the construction units will need to first repair the airbase and then carrying on the expansion process. So be aware that you will need to protect them, and also devote a considerable amount of supplies and time for your let's say airbase expansions. Air bases, not surprisingly, are treated like units. I wouldn't call it units, but kind of, and as such they do have their own info box. And there are several ways to access an airbase info box. The first way is to click on this symbol, view airbase details. You can go again here on you select with the right click and you go to unit detail, or there is another way that I think we need to activate exactly the unit mode. Exactly. You see here Poznan airbase. You can click on this one, or you can even click on the city, and then you click here on Poznan airbase. You know, you have 4 ways to do one thing. Let's go with this one, and once again we are with the airbase info box. At this point of the tutorial, I think I don't need to explain what let's say the information found in this info box. Maybe I have to mention one thing. Why am I stressing with air bases and not airfields? Because it's not because the game calls them air bases, but because air bases include airfields, and then all of the, I would say, the accessories that are found normally in air bases, like the repair facilities, hangars, maintenance tools, the sleeping quarters, the officer mess, and even, as you can see here, a flak detachment to protect the airbase from low-flying aircrafts. Maybe what I have to mention is that this line here, air support, is the most critical element in the airbase TOE, the table of organization and equipment. Air support indicates all the ground crews of your air groups. An airbase, in order to work efficiently, needs 250 elements of air support. If you have less than that, you may, I don't know, you may have longer repairing times for your damaged aircrafts, for instance. And the other three unique lines in the info box are these ones: airbase size level 2, capacity it's 200 out of 200 because it's free, and damage 0. Another important point is that air bases look like this. They are like empty, and only when you relocate an air group unit onto an airbase, then in the next logistics phase, all these ground elements will start flowing into that airbase. Again, always remember this whenever you are relocating your planes far away from supply depots and so on. So again, we will talk maybe more about this in the logistics tutorial. And I wanted to end the, let's say, the video about air bases by talking about the graphic user interface. There are several meanings to these circles with the green background, green with the red circle, both for the friendly and enemies, and also if you activate the logistics map, you see that, for instance, these two air bases changed color. So as always, I've prepared for you folks this nice spreadsheet in which I summarized the information that you can find in regard of whether you have or not the logistical map activated, whether you're looking at the friendly or an enemy airbase. Now, in regard to the logistics, there is another way to visualize whether your air bases do have some problems, and you can click on any AUG, and then if you zoom in quite enough, you can already see that some air bases do have some symbols, and if you hover the mouse on the let's say blue square representing the airbase, you will see what is this problem about. In this case, the Gerdauen airbase does have a low amount of ammunition, and it is overcrowded because it says capacity low, and then it gives you the 122%, so it's overcrowded. Other air bases, I think the one in the Luftflotte 4, like the Ungvar, it's really low on ammunition and also needs supplies. So that's it already for this tutorial. As always, folks, thank you very much for watching, thank you very much for supporting the channel, and stay tuned for more, because in the next tutorial we will finally talk about the AI assisted handling of the air war. Until then, I wish you all the best and hope to see you all in the next tutorial.